Alrighty, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's good to see you here at the afternoon hour as opposed to the morning hour. It's easier for me. I definitely enjoy a lunch at 12 more than I enjoy being here at 9:30 when I have to get up much earlier. So,
amen.
There you go. Although I did actually get up this morning very early anyway. I'm trying to do a new system now. Getting up earlier and going to bed earlier. As they say, early to bed, early to rise. Make somebody what? No. Okay, so what this series is called Modern Ethical Dilemmas in Jewish Law and Practice. And it's a little bit different than we've done before. Because I'm actually going to be calling on you to try to think things through and try to figure out what the laws would be. So it's not going to be the standard, I stand at the front and talk. It's going to be a little bit more interactive, and we're going to cover some really interesting topics. So the first thing we're covering today is abortion and other life-saving practices. Now, we have a country in which you have, for example, there is sort of the left wing, which says abortion is a woman's absolute right, no matter what. You know, whether it's first trimester, second trimester, third trimester, doesn't make a difference what level of development the baby is at. Abortion is a right, right? It's okay. Then you have, and by the way, I don't know if you've seen, but there's the far left. We're talking about the fringe left, and this is not yet mainstream at all. But you know, things that were not mainstream in other areas of life 10 years ago are now like celebrated. So on the far radical left, there are actually people who say that a child can be terminated. Some people say up until 24 hours after birth. Some people say up until they leave the hospital. And the craziest I've ever seen is up until the age of 2. Because the baby doesn't really develop his own full sense of self until then. So he's really just a continuation of the parents, right? But let's even go with 24 hours or until they leave the hospital, right? It's shocking. I mean, absolutely shocking to hear. And yet that is a real view of the fringe of the left wing, meaning what we call the most sort of progressive thinkers out there. They would say, I can decide. I have the baby, and then the baby is born. You know, we did all the ultrasounds. We did everything because we would have terminated the pregnancy if we saw anything wrong. But they didn't catch us on the ultrasound, and the baby is born with some kind of disfigurement, or the baby is born with some kind of whatever it is. I should have the right to terminate my pregnancy up until we leave the hospital, so to speak, or up until 24 hours after the child is born, because it's still sort of just a continuation of me. It's my body still. So then there's an extreme left out there, and then there's the extreme right. Right? The extreme right says a fetus is a child, and that is from the moment of conception and on. And therefore, if a child is even threatening the life of the mother, you have no right to choose the child's life over the mother's life, right? I mean, there is that belief in certain, mostly in certain fundamental Christian groups, right? Obviously, there are fundamental Christian groups who don't even do medicine, right? So, like, if that's what God wants, that's what God wants. But there are certain groups that say, listen, this fetus is a child, and therefore, no matter what, you can never, terminate a pregnancy under any circumstances. So what we're going to try to do today is try to discuss it from a Jewish perspective, and while we're at it, we're going to enter into the realm of a lot of these sort of life choices. Like, if you're driving in a car and you're heading down the highway and you're barreling down and somebody walks out into the road and you're going to hit him, but if you veer off to the, a family walks out onto the road and you're going to hit all of them, but if you veer off into the other way, you're going to hit the oncoming driver and only kill one person. Do you kill one or do you kill 5, right? There are these questions, and by the way, these questions are actually very much in the public eye right now for a very interesting reason. And that is self-driving cars. Very good. Right? Self-driving cars. Because when we give our cars over to a computer, computers are going to have to make those decisions, right? So, for example, a computer is driving down the road, and it sees over here, in the road right in front of it, you know, a car with 5 people. Probably even their detection skills could be better. It could see that in front of it is a car with 5 people, and coming in the opposite direction is a truck driver with only 1 person. And the car we might not even be able to detect that there's 5 people in the car, but there's 1 person in the truck. And then the car has got to make a decision. right? Who am I plowing into? The car of 5 or the car of 1? And by the way, there are researchers already doing something fascinating. They say, we want to be able to train the computer to respond the same way humans would. So they're asking, it's fascinating, they're asking thousands of people, what would you do in this scenario? What would you do in that scenario? What would you do? And then writing that information in to software that computers will then eventually follow. Now, by the way, I don't know if my personal opinion on self-driving cars, I am extremely, extremely pro self-driving cars. I wrote about this extensively in a Shabbos email recently. If you don't get my Shabbos emails, I'd be glad to sign you up or to send you this one specifically. The amount of deaths in America that would occur, that would be dropped immediately, that would not occur every year if we had self-driving cars is in the tens of thousands. Right? Every year in America, there's somewhere between 38 and 40,000 fatalities, and that's actually a very low number when you consider how many miles we drive and compared to what it used to be, right? However, there are a lot of accidents. The reason why there's so few fatalities, a lot of the cars today, every car has standard airbags and this, and there's so many different systems that are standard in a car today, but there are hundreds of thousands of crashes every year, and hundreds of thousands of injuries, and a huge percentage of them are due to driver either error or malfeasance. Right? Malfeasance would be drunk driving. Malfeasance would be texting and talking and shaving and putting on your lipstick. You ever seen that? Or shaving, and then you see it all the time. And they're like, yeah, you're driving in a car. You're driving at 80 miles an hour. Your car is covering 100 feet every second. You can literally, I mean, that's not enough time to respond. And on top of that, self-driving cars, besides the fact they never shave, they never put on lipstick, they never text, they never have distressing phone calls, they never get drunk. But on top of that, self-driving cars have dozens of eyes. How many eyes do you have? 2. How many eyes does a self-driving car have? Depending on the forms, there's LIDAR and radar and so, all kind of forward-looking cameras and infrared cameras. I mean, a self-driving car can have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sets of cameras. Which means it's monitoring behind you at the same time. It can see that there's someone barreling at you, right, that you don't see. And it can see there's a driver out of control who's about to slam into you. And the self-driving car can literally just pull off onto the shoulder, and the self-driving car goes boom, and you didn't get hit. Right? So there's and by the way, these sensors on these cars, the speed they operate with, they're scanning the road like dozens and dozens and sometimes hundreds of times a second. They are far more attentive than we are. And they don't make mistakes. For example, it's going to be snowing soon. What happens when you start skidding on the snow? What are you supposed to do? Turn into the skid. Raise your hand if you've ever tried to turn out of a skid. Am I the only one? Come on. Really? You all did it right every time your whole life? Okay, you're all... I like it. I got to get rides with you more often. Because you guys are perfect drivers. But the natural reaction, your car is sliding into a ditch and you're like, no! Right? No, of course. But you're not thinking. So cars... They're able to crunch numbers and data so much faster. They're monitoring everything so much more. I'm very, very, very much looking forward to the advent of the self-driving car. But when that comes, there will be a lot of ethical dilemmas that right now are being made by human beings anyway. But the problem is we're going to have to sort of either program the computer on how to respond or let the computer figure it out on their own. And then there comes all these questions. So we're going to do some of those questions today as well. Alrighty, that was the introduction. I will quickly run over there and get a thing of water. Hold on a second. Okay. So let's start with the first source in your source sheets. The 6th of the 10 Commandments is Lo Sirtzach. Thou, it's in the 10 Commandments, thou shall not kill. Shall not kill. Is that what it says? It's a mistake. You should say thou shalt not murder. Right? Thou shalt not kill would be Lo Taharog. Lo Sirtzach means thou shalt not murder. The Torah specifically uses the word murder as opposed to kill for a reason. What's it telling you?
That there are times you can.
That there are times when you can, and times that you are supposed to kill. Right? Thou shalt not kill would mean that there's never any instance where you kill somebody, and there are pacifists of this mind, right? There are pacifists, sort of like turn the other cheek pacifists. If someone wants to kill you, I will not take a life. God did not sanction me to take anyone's lives, therefore I will not take a life. If someone wants to be bad, they can be bad. That's not the Torah's perspective. The Torah says, lo sirtach, do not murder. It does not say do not kill, and as we're going to see soon, there are instances where you are supposed to kill. Okay. Now, let's go with the first basic situation. Hold on a second. Hold on. Oh, yeah. No. Don't hold on a second. Please listen in. I'll make a blessing on this delicious, delicious H2O, this life-enhancing and life, not just enhancing, but life-giving elixir we call water, H2O. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyeh b'dvaro. Okay, so let's figure this out. A guy puts a gun to your head and puts a gun in your hand and says, kill this person or I kill you. Are you allowed to do it?
No.
No. Why not?
There are 3 prohibitions that you're not allowed to violate the Torah, even if life or death is on the line.
And what are those 3 prohibitions?
I think adultery or incestuous relationships and idol worship are the other 2.
Good. Homicide. Idol worship and forbidden sexual relations. Those are the 3 prohibitions that if someone puts a gun to your head and says, do those prohibitions or I kill you, you say, go right ahead. So that's simple. And the way the Talmud describes that is who says your blood is redder than his, right? Meaning, who are you to decide whose life is more valuable, yours or his? So if you kill him because you want to stay alive, maybe his life is more valuable. Who says your blood is any redder than theirs, right? What if the person is literally 3 days away from death? Are you then allowed to do it? No, it makes no difference. We never know whose blood is redder. We never know. The person may not be 3 days away from death. We may be 5 minutes away from death anyway, right? We have no idea. We don't play God, right? I mean, people can just get out and go out. This guy says, this person looks like they're going to die. They're very, very sick. The doctors say they have no hope. I'm 20 years old. I'm young and vibrant. I've got a whole life ahead of me. This person already lived their life. I'm sorry. I'm doing it. They kill the person, right? For all they know, they get into a car, walk out, they drive out into the street. Bam, they get T-boned. They're dead. This guy, for all you know, he would have gotten better. We don't play God. We are not allowed to murder. Therefore, we are not allowed to kill, even if it's going to take our own life in the process. Now, let's go through a different scenario. Let's say you have a murderer who's playing games, and he lines up 10 people on the wall. And he takes one other person and he puts them right there. And he says to you, takes a gun, puts it to your head. He says, either you kill that person, and I promise you, these people will be let go. Forget I promise you. There's some sort of mechanism. There's a trap door in place. This guy falls to his death. These 10 people are in a garbage chute out of the building. He will not be able to kill them. These people will be saved. All you got to do is you pull the lever that kills this person. There's 2 chutes, right? There's a chute into an incinerator, and there's a chute that's a laundry chute out of the building. There's a guy in there with a gun to your head. And he says, either you pull the chute and kill that person, or I kill all 10 of them. Now what do?
You refuse the same law.
Okay. Whoever said you cannot do anything is correct, right? We can't play God. Whose blood is redder, right? We have all innocent people. There's 11 innocent people here. Whose blood is redder? How am I to decide this person's life is more valuable than that person's life? We can't do that. Therefore, I can do nothing. I'm not allowed to do anything. The guy can shoot me. He can kill all 10 of them. That's his deal, not my deal. I cannot play God. Okay, next. We have another mitzvah. And remember, we said there are times that you're supposed to kill. What times would that be? The Torah tells us in source number 2, Lo sa'amod al dam re'echa. You shall not stand idly by your brother's blood. Okay, which means if you see someone going to spill your brother's blood, you are not allowed to stand idly by. Okay? Which means that sometimes you are required by Torah law to kill somebody. For example, I see somebody running after someone else to kill them. Now I know all of you here, you all have extensive training with sniper rifles, right? So you're sitting on your porch one day, just chilling out, right? Just chilling out in the morning, reading the paper, and then suddenly you hear, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you. And you see one of the people from down the block is running after somebody else with a tomahawk, and he keeps trying to wait, like he's just trying to like just literally get his tomahawk into that guy's head, right? That's his goal. You see it. Now, of course, while you're on your porch, you usually have your sniper rifle sitting right by you, and you are a skilled marksman, so much so that all you got to do is pull out your sniper rifle, aim, and while the guy is running and he's at 200 yards, one shot, one kill, right? Navy SEAL style, right? Are you allowed to do it? Are you supposed to do it? You are absolutely required to do it. It's not like, hey, it's none of my business. Right? No. Lo samod adam recha. Do not stand idly by your fellow's blood. So therefore, if someone is trying to murder someone else, you are allowed to kill them. Again, you notice the language. If someone's trying to murder someone else, you are allowed to kill them. For you, it would not be murder because you're doing what you're supposed to do. The word for that in Hebrew is a rodef. A rodef is someone who's pursuing somebody else. The word rodef means to run after. So a person who's trying to kill somebody else is called a rodef. Okay. So, what is the philosophical perspective to that? How do you know whose blood is redder? Maybe, for all you know, the guy who's running after the other guy, you know, the other guy was a terrible person. I mean, who knows whose blood is redder? Why should I decide to kill the person with the tomahawk and not the person who's running as fast as he can away from the tomahawk? Right? He's taking the law into his own hands. If I shoot him, what am I doing? Taking the law into my own hands. There's a phrase in the Talmud. If you steal from a thief, you also get the taste of thievery. Right? So this guy's taking the law in his own hands. I'm taking the law into my own hands. I'm being a vigilante too. Now, by the way, of course, the law is, if you can shoot his legs, if you're that talented, right? You got a torso shot. It's a little bit easier sometimes than a leg shot. Guy's running, catching a leg. It's very difficult with a sniper rifle. You guys are super talented. You guys probably could do it. I probably couldn't. I would have to shoot the torso in order to stop him. But if you can shoot the leg, you're required to do so, right? Obviously, you're not allowed to kill the person if you can obtain your objective of stopping him from killing somebody else with any other means, okay? So, the answer is, the Sefer HaChinuch says, the Sefer HaChinuch is the book of education, okay? And he writes the following. The book of education was written anonymously in the 13th century, and he goes through all 613 commandments and explains them. And he writes like this. Shoresh mitzvah zu yadua, the root of this mitzvah, of you shall not stand idly by your friend's blood, is known. He kamosha yatzil ha'echad es chavero kein chavero yatzil oso. If I save someone who's being pursued without a court of law, without justice, then other people will save me. If I say it's none of my business, then everyone says it's none of my business. And what ends up happening is we have a world where chaos descends, right? So v'yisyashiv ha'olam b'kach. The world becomes settled if immediately when someone acts in a vigilante matter, we stop him. We collectively as society say we are not going to tolerate vigilantism, and we are going to stop it, ironically, with vigilantism, but we're going to stop it. Then the world becomes a settled place. Because if our response to vigilantism is, let it be, none of my business, I wasn't there, he's got a tomahawk, he's got feet, let him figure it out, you know what I'm saying? then the world descends into utter anarchy and chaos. Okay. By the way, what if the person running with the tomahawk is a child who's not responsible for his own deeds? Are you allowed to take out the child too? Yes, Jerry says, and that is correct. That's your source number 5 over there, the Talmud in Tractate Sanhedrin 72b. Amar Rav Huna says, Katan harodev nitan la'atzilo benafsho. Even if the person running after the guy to kill him with a tomahawk is a child, you are allowed to kill the child if need be again. If you can get him in any other way, just catch him with a butterfly net or something, that's better. But if you can't, and the only way you can stop him is by killing him, you even kill a child. Now, by the way, this is so horrifically and sadly, this is a reality right now, right? There are Islamist extremists who train children.
Yep.
What do you do? If you see a child who's strapped to a bomb walking towards a crowded bus station, you take him out, even if it requires killing him. Again, if you can, you kill him, you shoot his legs, whatever you do, you try to keep the kid alive. But if that's the only thing you can do, and he's walking towards a bus station filled with people, you take him out. Okay. Next. Now we're going to analyze the following situation. Let's look at your next source. This comes from a Mishnah in Tractate Ohalos, okay, which deals with laws of purity and impurity mostly, but here it deals with the following question. It says, if a woman is suffering in childbirth, Ha'isha shehi maksha lele, a woman is facing trouble in her birthing process, and the doctor says, if this baby comes out, in the process, it will kill the mother. What do we do? So the Mishnah says, in that case, you would reach in and you would cut apart the fetus so that it won't kill the mother in the process of coming out. Okay, so mechatchem es havlad b'me'eha, you cut apart the fetus in the mother's stomach. Again, now, of course, if you could do any other way, if you could do a C-section, that's a different, obviously that's what you would do. But there can be all kinds of cases where a child has toxicity or whatever it may be. Umotzimoso, and you take the baby out. Why? Mipnei shechayeha kodmim l'chayav. Her life is more primary than his life because he did not yet come out into the world. Which means we don't believe, we said her life is more dominant than his life. We didn't say he's got no rights. We said that her life is primary over his life, but his life has rights too. Meaning you can't just say, I'm not feeling it, so let me just take this baby out. We're 35 weeks in and I just lost my job, I'm not going to be able to support him, that's it, we got to terminate the pregnancy. No, that's not what we're saying here. We're saying here, the baby is considered alive to a certain degree, however his mother is considered more alive. And the child is considered to be a rodef. Because this child, if it keeps doing what it's doing, will kill the mother. However, listen to this fascinating case. Yatza Rubo, if the majority of the child has come out already, and sometimes possibly even just the head, ain't no gumbo, then you don't touch the baby anymore. Even if the majority of the baby came out, the rest of the baby is in and stuck, and it's going to rip the mother apart, whatever the case is, and the doctor says, if we don't cut apart this fetus, so to speak, the mother is going to die. But the baby is already the majority of the way out. Then what do? We don't touch the baby. Ein nogan bo. She'ein dochen nefesh mipnei nefesh, which means we don't decide whose blood is redder. By that point, the child is considered to be born already. So again, even an embryo is considered a life form, but a lower life form than a fully out there in the world living human being. So therefore, when it's in the embryo and it's going after the mother's life, then we say you got to take out the baby. However, once the baby is out, now it's its own life. independent. And it is, at this point, you cannot hurt the baby, and whatever happens, happens. Okay. Now, let me ask you a question. Does that make sense so far? Again, these are sad cases, but this is reality. You have to understand how the Jewish law would treat it. Here's my question to you. Let's say the baby's head is out. The majority of the baby's out. But if the baby keeps on coming out, so to speak, the baby will kill the mother. Why do we not say the baby is a rodef? Why do we not say the baby is, it's like he's running after his mom with a tomahawk, right? Meaning, of course he's got no malicious intent. But why don't we treat that baby, we do when the baby's inside the embryo, we say that baby's running after its mom's life to kill it if it continues on its course. If the baby's out, we say we don't touch the baby anymore. The baby's now his own person. Even if he is his own person, he's a person who's trying to kill his mom, not wittingly, unwittingly. If a child is walking toward, if a kid is strapped to a bomb, and he doesn't even know that he's strapped to a bomb, right? Some terrorists, some freedom fighters, give him a backpack with I Love Lucy, or Paw Patrol. This poor little kid, a 6-year-old kid, and the horrific things that there are people in the world who would do this. Who would take their own child, give him a backpack and say, go over there, go wait for that bus, and then blow up their own kid. Oh, my kid died a martyr. But you're an Israeli soldier, and you see that kid walking towards the bus stop, and there's no way for you to stop him other than shooting him. And you're far away, right? There's nothing. The kid will be at the bus stop in another 5 seconds. And the kid doesn't even know that he's trying to kill people. And you can't take out the father. That would be a simple solution. Kill the person who's trying to pull the button. But he's behind the wall. You have to kill the child, right? He's an innocent kid. But he's coming to kill people. So with the same thing here. The baby is part of the way out. So now he's his own person. But he's killing his mom. Why do we not say? He's not trying to do it. You hear the question? So what's the answer?
Perhaps he's already taken his first breath.
He has taken his first breath. So he's a human being.
Right.
But he's a human being that's in the process of killing his mother. And by the way, I appreciate your answer, modern medicine, a lot. But believe it or not, these things happen all the time with modern medicine today. We have not yet been able to solve all of the illnesses in mankind, and there are still, unfortunately, again, it's much lower infant mortality rate, much lower maternal mortality rates than they were by far, but these things still do happen today. I know personally people who are told by doctors, you have a choice. You can continue this pregnancy, but there's a 50% chance that it will literally kill you. And that's with all the modern medicine in the world. So we have not been able to solve all. Modern medicine has done incredible things. Infant mortality rate is way down compared to 200 years ago and 500 years ago for sure. And maternal mortality rates are way down, but they're still there. They're still real. So if the kid who's an innocent kid who's walking across the street with a backpack that's a bomb, we have to take out the kid. Here we have a kid who's, again, innocently and passively, but killing, that's the key. I missed a word there. And I gave away the answer. The answer is the kid is passive.
Pardon?
The child is passive. Meaning, like this. In the case with the kid who's the terrorist child, unfortunately, and he has no idea, his dad strapped him up, not his dad, his uncle, who knows what, right? Meaning, these things, it's so horrific to think about. His uncle gave him sweets and gave him a backpack, a Paw Patrol backpack. It's so pretty, so nice. And this kid is walking up to the school bus so innocently, right, to the school stop, but he's actively going to kill people, whether intentional or not. The baby is entirely passive. And here it's almost like, who's the killer? The process of childbirth, which is a process that when we sign up for motherhood, so to speak, is a risk we're taking, right? Obviously, there's risks involved in childbirth. And again, back in the day, those risks were much, much higher. Much, much higher. One of the 4 matriarchs died in childbirth, right? Rachel died in childbirth. And back in the day, I mean, people dying in childbirth was incredibly common. So the answer is, the reason why you don't kill the child once the child is born is they're both human beings now. And the child is not the one killing, it's the process. He's totally passive, he's just sitting there. It's the process of childbirth. So therefore, we say we can't get involved. Nature will choose, so to speak. And you can see this in Maimonides, in the Rambam. Maimonides says that this is a mitzvah that, okay, this is referring, that he says it's a mitzvah when you see somebody who's trying to kill somebody else, it's a mitzvah to kill them. That's the case with a tomahawk, and you're sitting on the porch with a sniper rifle. It's a mitzvah to kill that person who's trying to kill the other person and not to have any compassion. And he says, therefore, if an embryo is threatening the life of its mother, one is permitted to kill the embryo in order to save the mother. But if the head is protruding, do not push off one life for another, for this is the nature of childbirth. I mean, he's not the killer anymore. He's born, and he's being entirely passive. Okay. Alrighty. These are tough situations. These are very, very real situations. Okay. So again, so an embryo is considered a lower, and now you could say if it's just a natural birth of child birthing process, then why do we say the embryo? If the embryo is still inside, we say we kill the embryo. Why don't you just say it's the natural birth of process of birth? And the answer to that is yes, but the embryo, remember, is a lower form of life. Not it's not alive, not it's not a person, it's a lower form of life than a fully developed and breathing human being, and therefore the mother's life takes precedence. Okay. How about the following case? The child is halfway out, more than halfway out. It's its own person. And if you don't kill the child, both the mother and the child will die. Okay? Right, thank God we're not being asked these questions on a regular basis, right? These are people, I mean, you should know about it. I know people who have to answer these kinds of questions. It's hard, it's incredibly difficult. So again, the child is already more than halfway out, so it's considered its own human being with all the rights of a human being. If it continues to come out, it will kill both itself and the mother. Are you then allowed to kill the child to save the mother's life? Or do you say, we can't kill an innocent person, let nature take its course? The same way I couldn't kill this person to save 11 people here. Right, here we said numbers didn't matter. I'm not allowed to kill Bob to save 10 people. Maybe I'm not allowed to kill this child. He's right now alive. If I kill him right now, I'll save the mother. If I don't kill him right now, they'll both die, but they won't both die right now. They'll tell 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Who am I to play God? Am I allowed to do that then? No?
I think so.
You think so? Okay. Let's see. There was a fascinating case. There was a case that was the following case that happened in the biblical times. There was a guy named Sheva ben Birchi who was leading a rebellion against the king, King David. And a rebellion is incredibly dangerous to a country, and it could just destabilize the entire country. And the Jewish law is, if someone's trying to rebel against the king, you put them to death. He ran into a city and hid himself in the city. The city was a big fortified walled city. The general pursued, and the doors of the city locked. Yoav, who was King David's general, started setting up battlements around the city, and they were going to attack the city. And you can imagine if they're going to attack the city, there's going to be catapults being thrown in and all kinds of things. So this woman comes pleading to the general and says, please spare our city. And he says, I'll spare your city, but you gotta either kill or send out this rebel, because he's a cancer to the entire nation. He can destroy our entire nation. So if you kill him, I'm happy to. I don't. You think I want to attack the city? Absolutely not. But if I don't kill them, if I don't attack the city, the whole country's going to implode. which, by the way, has fascinating ramifications, because it talks to you about the moral response to human shields. What's going on right now in Gaza, right? So Hamas launches their rockets from schools. We know that. We've had evidence of that. Hospitals, schools. Are you allowed to attack back? If you don't attack back, the entire population of Israel is under your mercies, and you can just slaughter, and you intend to slaughter. You talk about it all the time. Your greatest glory would be to kill as many Jewish people as possible. If the Jews attack back, they're going to kill some children. If they don't attack back, right? You should know. I'm telling you, we live such. Thank God we're so removed from these decisions. There was a famous movie. It was made. I think it was called American Sniper. Mm-hmm. It's made about this team of SEALs. They were on a mission. No, it's a different one.
Yeah.
What's that movie called? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, because we talked
about
Lone
Survivor.
Because I asked you about
Lone Survivor. Lone Survivor is about the following case. You have a team of 4 Navy SEALs. And they're on a mission in Afghanistan or whatever it is. And they're spotted by a shepherd who's now running off to go to tell the village. Once they tell the village, the people, the Taliban's going to come combing through the mountains and kill them. Do I kill that child? Thank God we don't deal with these situations on a regular basis. I'll give you another situation. You are with a group of Israelis, soldiers, whatever it may be, and a Muslim woman is walking towards you holding the trigger to her, the chest, right? Meaning she's got a bomb strapped to her, but she's walking with 5 children. If you shoot her, she lets go, the whole thing explodes. If you don't shoot her, she's walking calmly towards a checkpoint or towards other people. Like, do you understand these kind of questions? These are horrible questions for anyone to have to answer. But the thing is, we see here, when Sheva ben Birchi, who was a rebel who was trying to make the whole country implode in war, was holed up in a city, the general was ready to attack the city. He said, if you kill the cancer in your midst, I'm happy to leave you alone. But if you don't, I have to attack the city. We've got to get this person. In any case, the inhabitants of the city killed Sheva ben Birchi, delivered him to the general, and all was saved. Why were they allowed to kill Sheva ben Birchi? The reason why they were allowed to kill Sheva ben Birchi was because had Sheva ben Birchi not been killed, the whole city would have been wiped out. So he was going to die either way. If he was going to die either way, and they have a way that they could prevent, and Sheva ben Birchi was the one responsible for that. If he was going to die either way and the whole place would have been wiped out, you are allowed to kill that one person. Not that his blood is redder or your blood is redder, but he's going to cause everyone to be wiped out and he himself will get killed. Or we can just have one person killed and everyone else goes free. Is this the most depressing class I've ever given in my life? It's the most depressing class I've ever given in my life. I can give you another example. These things, and by the way, you know, there are Holocaust survivors who will never talk about the Holocaust. There are Holocaust survivors who will talk. There are Holocaust survivors who won't talk. There are stories of Holocaust survivors where they were hiding inside a house and the Nazis are in the middle of searching the house. And the baby starts to cry. If the baby keeps crying, the Nazis will find everybody and everyone will be slaughtered. And often they literally, they didn't kill them, and they smothered the baby. And people like that will never talk about the Holocaust. Absolutely never. Can you imagine the scarring? For the rest of your life, you'll never, ever, ever, ever get over that. So these are the cases, these are examples of some of the more complex cases, complex moral cases that we have. Another example, and this happened right here in America. A plane is flying towards Washington. and it's gonna, the morning of 9/11, right? Now remember, there was 4 planes that were hijacked. 2 of them went into the 2 Twin Towers. 1 of them went into Pentagon. And what happened to the last one? Shanksville, Pennsylvania, right? Exactly. Now, it was downed internally. If it was not downed internally, what was going to happen to it? There were fighter jets escorting it. And as soon as it would have gotten close to any city of any consequence, they would have just, I mean, I don't know what it means, any city of any kind. Every city is of consequence. But those fighter jets were escorting it, and they had commands to take it down. And again, there's 300 people on board. And they're all innocent except for 10. Who says their blood is any redder? Or let's say it's about to land into another building. It's going to go to Chicago and smack into the Sears Tower, right? Who says the blood of the people in the Sears Tower is redder than the blood of the people on Flight 67 or whatever it was? The answer is, the people on Flight 67, or whatever it is, whatever the number of the flight was, I don't remember, I think it was Flight 67, whatever it was, 87, United Airlines 87, whatever it was, I think UA 87, they were going to die too. So either way they were going to die. So I'm not saying the people in the Sears Tower's blood is redder, but the people who are in the plane are going to die either way, and the people in the Sears Towers are going to also be additional victims. That we don't need to do. So the right thing to do, and again, it's horrific and difficult. To me, the general says, okay, fire on that plane. But that's what you have to do. Okay. Let's ask a couple questions to you guys now. An airplane is in the middle of crashing. And there's 2 people. It's a small airplane. There's 2 people. They both have parachutes. They both jump from the plane. They both deploy their parachutes. One of their parachutes opens. The other one doesn't. The one whose parachute did not open comes grabbing onto the person whose parachute is open. But now the weight is too much and it's starting to be dragged down. It's going to unfurl. It's going to this, it's going to that, it's going to break. Is the person with the working parachute allowed to kick off the person without the working parachute? Yes. Why?
Because they're going to die anyhow.
But even worse than that. Yes, because they're both going to die this way.
That's right.
But also because the person who's grabbing onto him is a rodef. He's pursuing, he's going to kill you. He's trying to kill you. Again, it doesn't, you don't, when we talk about a person trying to kill somebody else, it doesn't necessarily mean they're doing it with intent. Their action is, the person with the non-working parachute grabbed onto the person with the working parachute and he's killing him. Whether or not he has intent to kill him or not, he will kill him. So he's considered a pursuer. He's trying to kill somebody. Then you're allowed to kill him. You kick him off. Next question. A lifeboat can only hold 10 people. An 11th person jumps on. Are the 10 people who were there first allowed to chuck him?
Say yes.
Yes, correct. He's pursuing all their lives. What happens if all 11 people jump on at once? Think about this crazy case. What happens if all 11 people jump on at once? Now, let's go through this situation. They're going to all die. The boat starts to sink. The answer is nobody can do anything. Because no one has any more rights to the boat than the other. Hopefully, there will be one person there who will do the noble thing and say, we're all going to die if we all stand here on this boat. I'm jumping. That's the noble thing for one person to do. But no one has the right to say, you know what, it's time for you to be noble. So therefore, if no one wants to be noble, they all stand on it and watch it go down. Now here's a crazy case. This case was asked. In this case, because if you remember, during the Gulf War, I lived in Israel during the Gulf War. I had my gas mask, and I remember being woken up the morning of the first attack. It was a Thursday night, middle of the night, probably around 1 o'clock in the morning, and the sirens went off. I went berserk. I was so scared, because I mean, if you think about what happened, I mean, if those Scud missiles first of all, if God wasn't watching over the Jewish people, because there were so many miracles, they wrote a book then. I remember I lived in Israel. It was in 1990, 91, early 91. There were so many miracles that happened. I mean, there was a person his house was hit. He was sitting in his room with 2 dogs. The house came down. His 2 dogs were crushed to death instantaneously. And he came out with scratches and bruises. There was miracles like you couldn't believe. There was a story, listen to this amazing story. There were 2 brothers who lived in this house over here, and there was an elderly woman who lived in the house next door. And every time there was a bomb, so they would call her and say, hey, are you okay? Just to make sure she was in her room. There's a siren goes off, and the 2 guys, there was 2 brothers that were living together in the same apartment. They call the woman next door. She doesn't answer. And what do we do? What do we do? They said, you know what? We cannot leave her there alone. She's probably so scared. They come out of their building, and they start running across to where she lived. Boom, their house was flattened. There was just crazy miracles, crazy miracles. But you have the following question. You have a scud with a 500-ton warhead at the top, whatever the number is, I don't know. And it's headed right towards a densely populated part of Tel Aviv, or Jerusalem, or any city. And then you don't have the proper Patriot missile that will take out that scud. But you can fire a blank, you just don't have. You tried, you used up all your Patriot missiles. You tried to shoot down the scud, but you missed. All you've got now left is like an empty tube. What the empty tube will do is, it won't blow up the scud, but it will bang into it and knock it off course, but then it's going to hit the neighboring area, which is much less densely populated. Right? So, and you're able to figure these things out. You've got a computer doing algorithm, checking, you've got 10 more seconds to decide, whatever, and it tells you, if you don't fire, this scud will hit this densely populated area. If you do fire, it's going to divert it off its course, and it's going to hit that populated area, but less dense. Are you allowed to do that? Really?
Fewer people, less destruction.
Are you allowed to kill this person to save those 10? Remember that case?
Yeah.
You're not allowed to, right? You're not allowed to kill Bob to save 10 people here. So why would you be allowed to divert the scud where it's going to kill, let's say, 100,000 people here, and it's going to kill 10,000 people here? Why are you allowed to do that? Who said their life is any less red than those their blood is less red than those people's blood?
I guess it's up to the Creator, the higher power.
So you're saying you're not allowed to shoot the missile?
So evidently you're not.
Well,
You just let it do its thing, I guess.
so the answer the rabbi said was you are allowed to.
I was.
And here's why.
Okay.
Here's why. When you hit that Scud missile, you are not the one firing, doing the killing. The killing is being done by Saddam Hussein.
The intent was.
You are just minimizing the killing.
Okay.
Understand? You're minimizing the killing. The killing was being done by Saddam Hussein. He's the one who shot the arrow, so to speak. You're just minimizing how many people it's going to kill. So you are not allowed to kill Bob. But you're not killing those 10,000 people here. Saddam Hussein is. He's the one responsible for the killing. You're just minimizing the amount of people that will be killed. Okay, another example. You're in a room, and a hand grenade gets lobbed into the room. There's 25 people in this corner, and there's 5 people in this corner, and the hand grenade rolls to a stop. Tick, tick. Are you allowed to pick it up and throw it across the room to the other side? There's only 5 people there. There's 25 people here.
The same principle
No.
as Saddam Hussein. Somebody threw it into the room.
So you're saying the person who threw the grenade is the killer,
Yes.
not you. You're just minimizing the damage. Does everybody agree?
Yeah, I guess so.
Does anybody disagree? Why do you disagree, Jerry?
I would say because now you are a killer.
Because the grenade came to arrest. right? The grenade came to arrest. Now, you picking it up and lobbing it is you becoming a killer. By Saddam Hussein, the grenade was still in motion. So if the grenade is in motion, you're allowed to bat the grenade. Like, if the grenade came flying into the room and you see it heading towards there, you're allowed to take your hand and swat it that way to minimize the killing. But once the grenade comes to a rest, you to pick up the grenade and lob it over, then you're doing the killing now.
I don't agree with that, but that's okay.
That's okay? Okay. So these are, anyway, the bottom line is, we'll stop here. My deepest, sincerest blessing is that none of you should ever be faced by any of the situations ever that we've discussed today. But it's interesting to be able to understand how Judaism looks at these cases and takes them apart and to see how they play out. Okay, thank you so much. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you very much.